Hello, beautiful boss babes. Are you ready to chase life with Kelly? Well, I'm your host, Kelly Chase, and I'm so excited you're here. We are going to talk about all things love, dating, relationships, money mindset. We're going to dive deep into self-love, worthiness. I am going to bring on some incredibly empowering guests. We're going to have fun, we're going to laugh, and perhaps we're even going to shed some tears together. I am here to empower you, inspire you, and motivate you to create the life you crave. I am so excited for today's episode. Let's dive in. Hi, babes. Welcome back to the show. I have one of my dear friends, Miss Annaliese Puccini, on with us today. You may recognize her or know her from Bachelor Nation. She was on. I don't know why I just said it like that.
We're on it 3 times.
We're on it 3 times. You know, she was just really trying to find love. No, but yeah, she was on Bachelor 3 times. Bachelor and then Bachelor in Paradise twice, I believe. But yeah, she's a creative entrepreneur outside of being my friend, and like she's just amazing. But she's a creative entrepreneur, author, artist, dog mom, reality star, content creator. She's literally a jack of all trades, and I love watching her story and just watching everything unfold on your Instagram, like every day, in her cute little like content that she creates. She's just very creative, you guys. So you have to go follow her. But okay, so I want to do things a little bit different, because obviously if you're an avid listener, and I've gotten this from literally one of my best friends. She gave me feedback on my podcast, which I love. I love positive feedback and criticism. But she was like, Kel, sometimes it takes like a minute to like get going in your episodes. So I am going to try a little something with Annaliese. We're going to do kind of like a little rapid fire questionnaire. So she has, like 5 seconds to answer each question, and it just to like spice it up and like bring some entertainment in the beginning of the episodes. I'll probably continue to do something like this. Maybe the same questions, maybe change up the questions. I don't know yet, but, as we continue on, and I just want to like try and make it very just pungent and spicy and fun and entertaining. And like I said, the last time that we talked, like, I just want us to feel like you were literally sitting in this room with me having a conversation too. So without further ado, Miss Annaliese, hello, welcome to the show.
Please change them every time, because otherwise it's not fair. Prepped. It gives me anxiety to do things off the fly. I'm like, oh God, brain, please work.
I know, that's true.
We'll see if she kicks in today.
That's true. No, but I appreciate you being here. I really do adore you. We'll get into our story in a second, but I am going to start with these rapid questions, because that's going to be fun. Okay, so your favorite self-care practice?
Baths.
Baths, amazing. What is your guilty pleasure?
I'm like watching TV in a bath.
With ice cream. I love that. With ice cream, amazing. What kind of ice cream?
Oh God, there's this, I love Haagen-Dazs's caramel cone, and then there's this like dairy-free like coconut, I always forget what the name of it is, but it's so good. It's a chocolate walnut brownie, I think is the flavor. I will let you know the actual brand, okay. But oh my God.
We'll put it in the show notes, guys.
If anyone's curious, DM me. It's so
yeah. Okay, next question. Who is your celebrity crush?
Oh, you know what? I feel like actually, I really don't have one right now, but I would say maybe Andrew Garfield. Is that his name? I don't even know. Is that it?
I have no idea who that is, so I'm going to have to Google
who he is. You would know who he is. I think he was a Spider-Man at one point. I don't know. He's British. He's really like, he's coming into his own, which is a weird thing to say, but I feel like the more I see him on red carpets and stuff, I'm like, hello, what's going on with you lately? Yeah.
Okay. Andrew Garfield.
But I should probably find out if that's his name.
I mean, I don't know. I'm like, it's a great question. If you were to turn that question around on me, I'd be like, I have no idea. I'm like, Liam Hemsworth. There we go.
I know, I was going to say, when I was like 13, I could have given you like 10. Right now, I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Who was a crush when you were younger?
Probably like Ryan Reynolds, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, Josh Hartnett, who actually asked me out one time. Oh, that's a story, but yeah.
God, oh my gosh. Oh my God. What about like, what's his name? Devon Sawa. Wasn't that his name? Or Kevin Reagan and Devon Sawa were like two of mine.
Oh, we both have the same Jared Leto or Jared Leto.
Yeah, Jared Leto. Yeah. Ugh.
Who I've met before too, but I'm like,
Jeez.
Which kind of changes things once you've met somebody and then you're like, maybe I don't have a crush on you.
I know. I don't know if I ever want to meet him.
Yeah, sometimes those are left just best to the imagination, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, what is a skill or talent most people don't know you have?
I guess I post about this, but maybe a lot of people don't know about my painting or I don't know, is this a thing like that I was such a world traveler? Because I like before going on The Bachelor, because so many people, when I post things now, they're like, oh, you're so adventurous and you're like such a traveler. I'm like, I've always been that. They just like projected me in a light. So then people just think life started after The Bachelor. And I'm like, no, I had a whole life before that was actually very interesting too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, that's good. I like it. What is one of your like intentions for this year?
I mean, my word for this year is just love. Like, so that's, I don't know. I haven't really thought so much about it further than that, but just like in all capacities, loving myself, loving like my friendships, any of my relationships, my romantic relationships, just love.
I love that. Good.
Are these supposed to be one word answers? Because I am failing big time.
Yeah, no, because I mean, I'm.
This is your first time. This is trial and error.
This is, but no, they weren't supposed to be one answer. I just wanted to like have a game and have some fun. I think that's, everyone always asks me, do you want to like do another love reality show? And I'm like, no, I want to go on a game show. Like that's put me on Wheel of Fortune.
I'm like, let's go on. Well, it's not really a game show, but Amazing Race, sort of game show.
Yeah, that would be super fun.
You would be a good partner for me.
We should apply. We should totally apply. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's dive in. I do want to know, about you, like your story. I know that you obviously, like we said, you were on a Bachelor. What was, I guess, kind of paint us the picture of the long story short of your experience on The Bachelor and Bachelor in Paradise. Like, why did you go on those shows? Did you apply from the beginning? Like, did you apply to be on The Bachelor? Because that was the first show that you were on. So did you apply, or did someone like apply for you, nominate you?
So I'm not actually sure how it all came to fruition. There was just, I think, a lot of things, a lot of like, maybe people had nominated me. But I got an email one day, or a DM one day, I guess it was probably, saying we just had 5 people in the office say, you got to figure out how to get in touch with this girl. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So, and then I just literally was 32 years old already. I was like, there's no way I'm getting on The Bachelor. And so I just kept going along with it. I was single. I was like, what else, what do I have to lose? I go through this audition process, I meet cool people. And then they called me and were like, we'd like to cast you. And so again, and at the time, there was like rumored that it was going to be Peter Krause. Mm-hmm. And you better believe I would have been trying my darndest to stay in there till the end if it was Peter. But Ari and I just did not have the first night. We had like good initial banter, and then it just like didn't really go anywhere after that. And because of just like the stress of being on the show, and I realized how much I think in that experience, like everyone thinks we're so well adjusted, as well, not everyone, but like a lot of us think like, especially viewers, I'm so well adjusted. I would never cry. I would never do this. I would never do that. But once you're in this like pressure cooker environment, oh my God, you do not recognize the person that you become sometimes. Mm. And that's like what happened to me. And I just realized there was like a lot of things that were underlying like insecurities that I definitely was still working on dealing with. Mm. So I did that. So I always say like my first experience was kind of like, basically I was made to be a character so that I was memorable so that I could go on Paradise. I think that was like the intention for me. So I did have a very like memorable character. And then I went on to Paradise. I was there start to finish. I would say that was like interesting and then really good and then really bad. And then life outside of Paradise was just like an absolute, can I swear on your podcast?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was like just an absolute dumpster fire shit show, like the worst personal stuff going on in my life during that time. And then I like thought I had done a lot of healing. I was working on things, but like, as we know, this is a continuous journey, right? So like, I thought I was sort of in a good headspace. I had sort of figured it out. It figured me out. I knew what the show was like looking for and not looking for, and like what I was going to say and not say, so that I didn't get portrayed in a certain way, that, that I was just me and like who I wanted to be portrayed as, which is like what we all want, to go on and be ourselves. So anyway, so then the third time I went on, I think that's like exactly what happened. I knew myself better. I was very much, when they would ask me certain questions, I was like, I'm not even going to justify that with an answer because I know what you guys are going to do. And then I went home the first night. So, yeah. So, and then I just think like, that's been my Bachelor journey. I don't even know if I'm supposed to, well, I won't say it. But yeah, I just think there was like other opportunities. So I know that like the franchise did like me, probably because I'm a gullible, very manipulable, very easily manipulated person. Especially then, because I really was still in like a huge transformative phase of my life. And it's funny now because it's like so clear to me, because I feel like I was just thinking about this last night. So I was like, what am I going to talk to Kelly about? But I'm like, we're friends. We'll get into it. Like,
absolutely.
But I mean, you met me right after I'd done The Bachelor, but not before I'd done Paradise for the first time, right?
I'm
trying to remember. I'd done The Bachelor for sure, but you hadn't done.
I think that you had done Bachelor in Paradise because you were dating the guy. Wasn't there a guy that you dated?
Okay, so I was dating Camille then still. So yeah. Okay, but we hadn't, the finale hadn't aired yet.
Correct.
Or after the final rose or whatever it is, the reunion show. So that's okay. That makes sense. Yeah, and I realized like during that time also, this is just side note, like how closed off I was, how when I would meet new people, like there was always a wall up because it was just, there was like fear, anxiety about like, they think I'm something. Who am I? Like, there was just so many things. What can I say? What can I not say? How are things going to be taken, spun? It's just, it was a really weird experience. But yeah, I was thinking back on it last night, and I was like, it is wild once you have done so much like personal growth and development, and you can look back, and I can almost feel like I can see that turning point of like where things changed. It's like I crossed that threshold. Now I'm on the other side of it, thankfully, because it was a rough couple years. Wow. But I was in it, so it was a really hard time to be also like a public figure at that, at that time. Like eyes were on me, and I was like, really, it was not a great time for eyes to be on me.
Yeah.
So that's basically, yeah. So then the last couple of years I lived in Maui for a bit. Obviously we had the pandemic, like, so I've taken a lot of that time to continue to work on myself and like recognize how much I was just like, I was very broken for a long time. And so, I forget what I want to say, I'm going to say it wrong. So I'm not going to say the actual word again. We'll put it in the notes later. There's this Japanese term that's, it's, oh my God, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's like, but I know I'm going to pronounce it wrong, but it's basically like when a porcelain bowl breaks or something, so they put it back together with gold. And I always love that like metaphor for like how we are as humans, and especially like when we do go through such hard times in our life. And like for me, I look back, it was bad at one point. I was very depressed and I was very broken, but I feel like I've done so much work on myself, and I've like been so good about filling those cracks with gold. And so now hopefully coming out of that chapter, like a more beautiful, more interesting piece of porcelain.
Yeah, and you are, and it's interesting because yes, the first time that I met you was with our mutual friend Jamie, and we were on the beach in California, and you were like the person that I know today is like not the person I met.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you could attest to the same thing. Like you were just very quiet. You were, and y'all, like I just said y'all, yes, like me knowing Annaliese and like traveling with her this whole like last year and everything, like you're so extroverted. Like you really are. You're super outgoing. I mean, extroverted
introvert.
As am I. Like I like retracting. I like my like solo time and all of that. But like you're so outgoing though in so many ways. And just like as you were saying, you're like, oh, people don't know that I like paint. There were so many things that like, I don't know, like maybe it was like the acting thing, or maybe I knew you did that, or I don't know. There were like certain things that you would like say, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that you did that. Or just the way, like your mannerisms, your behavior, something like you are like porcelain. You're just like this like pretty little innocent thing. And I'm like, and then she just like says things and I'm like, what? They just take me off. Let's put it that way. Like, I don't know. We'll just have like random conversation about God knows what, but she'll say something and it's just like, what? Did she just say that? Like, I don't know. I just look at people. I look into a lot of people. They're just like so like holy and innocent, and not that you're not, but like what are you
going to say about me?
Not that you're not. You're a beautiful angel, baby. But it's just funny. You just do have like, there's so much more about you. And that first time that I met you, I didn't see that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sure that's like why I also did not do well on reality TV, because I wasn't showing it. I think I'm actually, in a weird way, I feel more like the person I felt like before I did the show. But like obviously a lot's happened, so I'm more healed and whatever. But I felt very comfortable in myself before doing this show, and I feel like I'm getting back to that place of like I feel comfortable with myself again.
Right.
Right. Yeah, and I mean I think it was just honestly like I said, it was a chapter of life that it was probably maybe in other times of life like it would have been a different story if I was on reality TV. It just happened to be like a really bad chapter for me for whatever reason. I don't know, like I was having ageism against myself. I was definitely having like body dysmorphia in the house with all the other girls. I was like not seeing myself for what I am. I still like, I'll be like, oh God, I was this and that, like all of this negative self-talk about how I looked on the show.
Sure.
I watch clips back. I do not watch clips back regularly, but every once in a while, like something will pop up on my phone of like an old memory. And I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, are you joking? And it's just wild to think that your brain can fool you so much. But for whatever reason, it was like doing a real good job of just like making me feel less than and just bringing up all my insecurities.
Well, it's, yeah, I mean, and I can resonate real hard with that experience for you too, in the sense of like, when I was watching Love is Blind, you know, for the first time, and even now when I've seen it a couple of times, well, I've only watched it one more time since, but when I viewed it the first time, I was like emotional because a lot of stuff was coming up for me that maybe was unresolved or whatever from the show, while also looking back to be like, wow, you know, that was filmed 18 months prior to it airing. And I was like, I am not that person anymore. It was almost like I was like mourning the loss of like my past self while I was watching. And I was like,
but it's hard too, because then you're like, that's not me anymore. And then America is seeing it for the first time and they're like, that's who you are. And you're like, no, actually, like, and you can change. Like it was aired 18 months after.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
wild. See that, like, I mean, just think how much can happen in a year.
Yeah, you know? I know, exactly. Like so much have happened, and my like whole growth, or my healing journey had started literally like a month after we got done filming. So in the end of 2018, and that's like literally like all the mindset and like shadow work and inner child healing. Like that's when I started doing all that stuff. So, and then it didn't air until February of 2020. So it was literally like almost a year and a half had gone by. And I'm like, oh my, like I'm totally a different person. And so the same thing, like it's like, I do want to have another opportunity to be on TV, not to like show people like who I am now, but like just to like feel more like myself. Like, and there were so many insecurities going on inside of my head back then too. I mean, one, production was like grilling me on my past that I probably didn't want to talk about. And that's why thus I never went to therapy for, for those 12 years. But, they were just grilling me on so many things. It was bringing out so much shit and darkness within me. So then I was like probably spiraling in that regard. But then also I was like, not where I wanted to be body image wise. Like, I mean, I had just a poor body image. Like I did not like who I was. I was still combating my like weight gain issues and all of that. And I mean, me too. I was like comparing myself to the girls. I mean, I borrowed like my reveal dress was actually borrowed from Jessica because I brought some dresses there, but like I didn't realize that our reveal was something, we needed to all wear like ball gowns basically, like really nice things. I had like a clubbing dress to go to my reveal, and they're like, Kelly, maybe you should wear this instead. It's a little bit more classy. You're meeting this man that you may marry kind of thing, So I wound up wearing her dress, which I'm glad that it like fit. And I was so grateful that she had brought extras and everything. But I just felt like, I mean, even seeing myself, like I was like, oh my God, like, I had a pooch and like, obviously I'm like, us women, we just criticize ourselves so much, but I mean, I was just going through it back then. I mean, and just seeing all of that like play out. And I'm like, now I'm just like a new me, and I want to like do different things. And I know like,
I'm telling you, Amazing Race. I feel like you and I say it. I'm like, no, because it pisses me off when people are like, oh, because I had a scared edit when I was on the Bachelor. And I'm like, I'm so not a scared person. That's the wild thing. Like it's not that I want to like show people or prove, but there is a part of me that's like, I just feel like I never really got represented myself. And it sort of sucks that like the image that a lot of people have of me is, yes, there are like some things that people caught on to, and they were like, I can tell that you're just like a genuine kind person. And the show got to you in a lot of ways and was able to kind of use that. And so when people say things like that, I'm like, oh, thank you. Thank you for seeing me underneath that. But it's hard. So many of my really close friends were like, I couldn't watch you on the show because it wasn't you. And that was like, when people said that to me, I was like, whoa.
Yeah. I one of my really good friends said that to me too. She was like, I feel like I'm watching a stranger. Like it's really like hard for me to watch this. And I was like, well, good. That's hard for me to watch it too. Like, it was crazy. But too, like, I mean, I would say, and I know that
it's probably a good thing we're not like super comfortable in that setting. Like if you're really, really comfortable,
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Like it should make you a little uncomfortable.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I just like really I'm sure I was myself as to where I was in life back then, but I know that I held back from saying things. I know that I held back from really like putting myself out there, voicing my thoughts, voicing my opinion. I mean, granted, yeah, I had started to kind of do some like healing work, but not like with a coach or therapist or anything, just like on my own. So I was just like hyper aware of certain things. So I'm like, and Kenny was also very hyper aware of things. So like when production would say something, would try to encourage us to talk, gossip around about the other contestants, like literally Kenny would shut it down. Like he was like, yeah, no, like I'm not, like I have nothing to say about that. And like, not to say I would have been tricked into saying something, but I probably would have. Like, but I was with him, like he just shut it down, and production was like, give us something.
That's probably why you guys were the boring couple.
I know, we were the boring couple. Jesus. Like, but we weren't, we had so many fun times. Like, I mean, there was a whole dance scene. Like they cut this entire day of filming out. Like we did cake tasting, we did dance lessons, this whole like dance scene and everything. And Kenny and I crushed the dance. I did the worm. Like, it was amazing. And I'm like, okay, why couldn't we all have put just that little clip in there? Me just at least doing the worm. I mean, come on.
I mean, it's similar because when Camille and I were on it together on Paradise for season 5, I guess it was sort of similar. Like they made it seem like a very one-sided relationship. Like he wasn't as into it, but then the things that were said between us or like were caught on camera even, but weren't aired was a very mutual thing. And we had so much fun together. Like we would just sit on the, I remember like, we would always just sit on the beach and like make up stupid songs and like sing to each other, even though neither of us could sing. And like, you know, we would do the same thing. We would like dance while we were brushing our teeth at night and just be like so goofy. And we had a lot of fun together, but they fully, of course, like they didn't want it to be a likable relationship, I think, you know, or a relationship people were like super rooting for anyway. So, but yeah, it's frustrating that too, because I'm like, people were like, you were so desperate on that season. And I was like, it really wasn't. I was just doing what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to date multiple people. Like, that's what I did.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh my gosh. So okay, so I know that this. If you don't want to talk about this, we don't have to. And so after Bachelor in Paradise, the first time that you were on it, after dating Camille, like, so he, like, your relationship ended with him, and then didn't your father pass away too? Like,
yeah,
right then as
so
well.
it was like a crazy, I'm trying to think like the timeline, but it was like I went back to see Camille and his family, came home. I want to say it was like 3 or 4 weeks later, we had the reunion show, but it hadn't aired. And then I think I'm like getting it a little confused now, but probably because I tried to fuzz out that whole little phase. But and then my dad was rushed to the hospital. 10 days later, he passed away. 2 days later, it was my birthday. And then I think the reunion show aired, or maybe I got that kind of wrong, but maybe the reunion show had aired prior. I can't remember, but it was like a lot of just a lot of back to back stuff. And that was sort of like the start of, I think that being on The Bachelor was the start of me feeling unsure about who I was as a person, because I felt very confident going in. I felt good about who I was. And then this was like one of the first times that I had seen myself back as somebody else. America was telling me I was somebody else. And I was like, no, that's not who I am. Like, and you're defending yourself, but you can't really defend yourself because of like all these contracts that you've signed. So you can't say, no, that's not true. So I felt really like, I just didn't know who I was, what to do. I felt very confused, I guess. But that sort of passed, and then that's why I went on Paradise. I was like, second chance, you know, whatever. And then that was like it ended up being such a good experience. But then, you know, it was like a very heartbreaking experience because I just wasn't expecting things to happen the way that they happened. And then, yeah, with my dad, my dad and I had like unresolved issues. We didn't speak for 6 years. We had reconciled 5 years prior to him passing. And so we had started to rebuild our relationship. So that was tricky. I mean, and I think I've shared with you, there's just like so much drama between like that, or in that little capsule of time, like of what happened, especially with my stepmom, who is just the worst. It's funny. I like don't say that lightly at all. Like I never say I hate things. But she is somebody that I hate. I think she's a terrible human. And I'm sorry. Like I know that's a really harsh thing to say about somebody, but she is just not kind. And so that was really difficult. She had me removed from the will and called me laughing, telling me about that. And it was just like a lot of things that I was dealing with personally that I'm not going to go on Instagram and be like, oh, poor me, this happened, you know? but I was dealing with a lot. Like I was dealing with this public heartbreak, and then my dad. Then I like went off social media for a bit because I was dealing with everything with my dad. And during that time, that was sort of like when everyone was wanting things from me, because it was like right after the breakup. So people wanted to interview me. They wanted to have things happen with me. And I had to turn everything down because I didn't want to. I didn't want to get out of bed, you know, let alone like go to an event. And so that was like a bit challenging, obviously, as well, because everyone was assuming that it was because of the breakup. And I was like, no, like, I don't care about that at this point. Like there's much bigger things going on in my life, life and death things, you know? So it was really, really challenging. And then, obviously I did announce it but it was just a really hard time. And because I think I had unresolved issues with my dad, and like, that was a big thing that I've done so much healing with since then, and just kind of like accepting and letting go a lot of it. Cause there's just my dad, when he went into the hospital, it was a Friday night. I remember, I'll never forget. I was supposed to go with John Graham that night. We were going to go have drinks and like catch up. And my stepmom called me. I hadn't talked to her in like 12 years. And I was like so shocked. I pick up and she says, your dad's on the way to the hospital right now. And following the ambulance. And I was like, okay, what hospital? I'm like in the car right now. I'll go straight there. And so I go to the hospital. We meet with the doctors and they're like, we think he had a heart attack. So we put a stent in. He'll probably be home Sunday or Monday at the latest. And we're like, okay, you know. And then every day it was like something happened and it's getting worse. But he said the time that he went into the hospital until the time that he died 10 days later, he was non-communicative during that whole time. And so it was just, you know, we didn't have any words. Obviously I said a lot to him, but yeah. Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah, I'm sure. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I know, you just got me too. Well, you know, it's a beautiful thing to know you and see you, like witness you doing. I'm sorry, now I'm crying. Yeah, I know. Damn it, Annaliese.
We drink ginormous water.
Yeah, I love it. But no, it's like a beautiful thing to learn about your story. I mean, obviously that's why I have everyone on this podcast, but we all can be going through some things, and I'm sure that there's many listeners that can resonate with that, but you're doing such beautiful work out there, and you've just, tuned in. You're not avoiding, that hardship, those hard feelings, those hard emotions. You're doing that shadow work and that inner child healing. And like you said, just accepting what was, and, you can't control anything. You can't go back in time, and, and letting go of that we can't go back and do that. But yeah, I just want to
and just seeing like the beauty, there's obviously, I remember I spoke at my dad's memorial, and I was like, I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to be like, oh, it was rainbows and he was the best dad in the world. Cause he wasn't, like he would probably say it himself, but I was an only child. I was the only child he had. And I really was honest about our relationship, because I knew that for me, obviously I wasn't cruel. It was his memorial, but I was like, we didn't have the best of relationships, but we were working on it. And I was, at the end of the day, as much as I fought it, I was very much a daddy's girl. I was so much like my dad. I think that's why I pushed him away for so long, because it scared me that I might turn into him, and I desperately didn't want to be like my dad. So I've really worked hard to not be my dad, come to find there's a lot of beautiful qualities that he does have. And so that's in those moments you have to obviously just accept it for what it is, and recognize it for what it was, what the relationship was, but then also remember the beautiful moments. And I also thought my dad was going to live like another 20 years, you know, we all do. But I never thought that like that was going to happen. And he was like always in good health. I don't think he like ever had a broken bone or a cavity or like never had a cold. He was just like a healthy guy. But yeah, I think like getting back to me, getting back to like me going through it, it was a ton to be going through. And then I just remember like going, because it was my birthday, like 2 days after he had passed. And I remember because I hadn't gotten out of bed for a couple days. And I knew somebody or I know somebody, and she called and she was like, you're coming out with me. And I was like, no, there's no way in hell. She was like, nope. It was to a football game, which I was like, I'm not a sports fan or anything. She was like, you need to get out, and making you come out with me. So I did. And I remember that day because again, like I was fresh off of the breakup. So people knew me from that, not anything about my dad yet. Cause I don't even think I had posted it yet. And this woman I remember like came up and asked me if she could get a photo. And I was like mortified because I'm like, I can't. Like, and I explained to her what was going on. She's like, I fully respect that. But like, it was a very weird time, super weird time. And then, yeah, I mean, you know, I've had 2 kind of significant relationships since then. And what I realized during that time is how much I was filling a void, you know, like whether it be for a sort of like father figure, which is always so creepy, but it's whatever, we all do it, right? Yeah. But you know, whether it was like for that, or whether it was for somebody to just like replace some sort of feeling. So even though I was doing a lot of healing and I was working on myself quite a bit, I still wasn't fully just like letting myself be in it, you know? And then when I was living in Maui, I think that was just you have to just do it. There's like no running away from it anymore. So I lived in Maui for 9 months. And during that time, it was like, I was just a lot of healing and a lot of therapy, a lot of journaling, meditating, a lot of like listening to podcasts while walking on the beach. And, you know, I was doing a lot of like really healthy things for myself. And so I think that's why I'm able to look back now. And it's so crazy because I look back at like who I was even in Maui, which that was in 2020 going into 2021, that I was there. And I was like, oh, it felt like such a happy time. I look back, I was like, man, I was still just so lost and so broken, but I was trying so hard to be happy and like I was just trying so hard to be not broken because I didn't want to be that anymore. So I was like, I have to do something. And like the worst thing that we can do is brush it under the rug and not deal with it because it just follows us.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what do you feel this way? So like, you know, obviously both of us have done a lot of this, like, you know, healing work and inner child stuff. And, you know, it makes us more aware. I feel like it makes us hyper aware. And so do you feel that can sometimes be, I don't want to say like a negative, but like you're so hyper aware of like how, okay, so if someone's not showing up for you the way that you want them to, or you like it's almost like we can like psychoanalyze like what the guy is doing in a sense now. And it's like, okay, well, he must be like, it's harder for us to make excuses, although we still want to make excuses. That's like the old version of us. Like, and we're still human and we want to like create these beautiful stories about our love stories and everything. But I don't know. I just find myself like getting into the situations where if a guy is like not showing up for me or whatever, I'm like, okay, well, like, what about that am I supposed to learn from this? Like, what is this reflecting back to me? Like, what is this lesson that I need to learn from this? So it's like, I'm just like hyper aware now. And I'm like, well, how many lessons do I need to learn until I actually find the fucking man that's going to like be with me forever? Like, I'm ready for my forever person. And I'm done learning the lessons. Like, I mean, we're never going to stop learning, but like, when is the guy going to come in that's going to want to learn the lessons with me and stay with me, you know?
I can't wait for that. Yeah, no, I find the same thing happening when I recognize, like when I look back, because obviously we can't see it when we're doing it a lot of times, you know, we're like blinded. But like in relationships, if I look back at me even 3-4 years ago, I would like make constant excuses. I would let them get away with a lot of things, you know, even if I kind of like knew, oh yeah, that's probably not the best thing in the back of my mind or in my gut. Now I let them like maybe do it once and then I'm like, oh no, like I'm done. This is not something I'm going to let continue. Which I'm really proud of myself. Like I think you should be proud of yourself that is a realization that we're having. But yeah, it does definitely make things a little trickier because it does have to fit on so many more levels. As soon as you see like the red flags or the things that they need to work on, or the thing, like whatever it is, or they're making you feel a certain way. And then, yeah, but you're right. Like there's so many times that when these things happen, like I said, sometimes the first time, depends how much I like the guy. I'll sort of let it slide. The second time I'm like, no, I just deserve more than this. And then I start thinking about like what you were saying, like, well, what was I supposed to learn from this relationship? What did he make me see in myself, or what did I see in him that I liked, didn't like, whatever, so that I can be aware of it when it comes around again, either the negative or the positive, you know? So that's like the thing is I don't want to be with somebody who treats me poorly, obviously.
Yeah.
So, but sometimes it's very hidden, you know, it takes a long time to see those things. So when you do see it in somebody, like recognizing what it is, what trait, what maybe things that you were overlooking because you liked them, and then kind of working backwards so that you don't make that mistake again.
Absolutely. I totally agree. What would you say is like, I mean, granted, you said your intention earlier was like love. So what are some things, one, are you single right now? Are you dating anybody currently?
Yeah. Such an awkward laugh. I'm single, but I am dating. No, I'm definitely dating. I hate it's so funny. I was doing relationship coaching for a while. I would always kind of like think about what I would tell a client who was going on a dating site or like dreading going on a date. And I tried to like think about that for myself, but I hate dating sites. I hate them. And I find myself being like the worst person on a dating site. I'll match with people. And it was funny, I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, and I was like, a really good friend of mine that I've known for like 20 years. And he and I actually sort of dated at one point. Like it's one of those really, so we like know each other on a different level as friends, as this, as that. And he was like, what, do you just go on for ego? And I was like, you know what? Actually, I wonder if some of it is, because some of it's just like, I swipe, I see who I match with, and I'm like, oh, cool. I never do anything with it, which is terrible to admit, but I think there's a part of it that is true. And the thing for me too is, I don't know if you're like this, but on dating sites, like, yes, it's a picture. Yes, it's a couple words. We're not getting a full picture of who they actually are, but there's like the guys that have dated from dating sites, there's always just this draw, even if it's through a photo that I'm like, you know, I swipe right on them or I heart them or whatever the thing is. And I'm like checking my messages every day for the next couple of days because I want to see if they've written me or if we've matched. I haven't had anyone like that in a while. So I think that's part of it too. I think that's why I just sort of like aimlessly am like, oh, I'll match with that person. Oh, I'll match with that person. It's maybe less ego and more that I'm just doing it until I like find somebody who I'm like, ooh, I hope that they write me.
Right. Yeah. I would say that I'm a little bit more, I'm the same too. I mean, I do want to be more intentional. I mean, I just like, my podcast this week, or last week, I guess, that I aired, it was, you know, me saying like, I'm done. Like, I mean, you know, my story and with boys, and it's just like, I'm done. Like, I just like, and I know that I say that. And as you were saying too, it's like, sometimes, you know, kind of like it depends on who it is, you know, like we're not done sometimes. Like, and although, yeah, we've done a lot.
Sometimes we do have one more lesson.
Sometimes it needs to take 3 years for us to be done. But, you know, it's like whatever. I just, with the dating apps, like, yes, the other week I started like getting into them because I'm like, I do want to find someone. I don't know if it's that way, but like, and obviously I started a new job. So I am going to be like meeting a lot of people that way. And I mean, yesterday this guy had messaged me and super nice, but I'm just like, I don't know when I have time. Now, all of a sudden, I just like don't feel like I have a lot of time to do things. And I do want to create this, like, definitely a work-life balance. I want to have that. So it's like, how do I really just don't know how moms do it. I don't know how moms do it. Like, it's like, what do you prioritize? How do you prioritize? Like, I want to spend time with my family. I want to spend time with my friends. I want to have my alone time. But, you know, I still, like, although I pursued this new career opportunity and it's going to be great and I'm already enjoying it, you know, there are still things like this podcast. Like, I'm not totally giving up my business. Like, this podcast is my business, and doing content creation for brands and just for fun is what my business is. You know, I'm putting a kind of like brakes on the coaching aspect of things because I wouldn't have a life at all if I was still doing that. But, you know, I'm trying to like just navigate like what I can do and thinking 6 months from now, okay, like how busy am I going to be? Like, I know I'll be invited to like dinners and events and things like that, like after work. Like, I just feel like, I'm like, okay, like I get excited to go to do dates, but then I'm like, I have to plan those and I have to go on them. And it just seems like now I feel like I'm like back into this like career season and I need to focus there and like nothing else. But I'm like, and maybe that's what I do need to do. Because what do we do if we focus too hard on something? It like actually repels from us. So maybe that's it. I don't know. But it's kind of the same though. Like the guys I was like matching with, I'm like, I mean, they seem nice and like, you know, but I wasn't like, yes, I want that guy to like respond to me. And I hope that guy matches with me. Like, I just haven't found that yet.
Something really interesting to me recently. So I'm in San Francisco, but it's not where I want to be. And like, this is to anyone who knows me closely, like this is common knowledge. I don't want to be here. But I do have a life here. My family's here. I own a home here. And so there is a part of me that has sort of like, I have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And they were like, I think when you go on dates, because you don't want to be here, but you are currently here, you have this very confusing energy. And I was like, oh, that really makes sense to me. That like fully resonates. And I think that's very true. And I just think, you know, when we have so many experiences that are similar to that, we just generalize and like, I don't feel like my guy is here. And I feel like a lot of the times when I go out with the guys in San Francisco, nothing against the guys in San Francisco, we don't have the same things in common or the same sort of conversations that I do with guys in other demographics that I like am generally drawn to. And so, you know, I think that's tricky too, because I definitely have that. And then I spend so much time with my family here. And so I had somebody else say something interesting. These are all things that I'm like trying to really take to heart and be like, okay, listen, like do something about it. Because I think it's very good observations from other people. The other thing that was said to me was, because I spend so much time like with my mom specifically, is that I am getting a lot of like my I don't know, not needs to met, but like for like a partner, I have somebody to like, I'm like, want to go to dinner? Want to go for a walk? Like I have that person that I can do that with. And so I'm not seeking out somebody to have that position in my life because I kind of have it. So I'm like, which is just another thing to think about. I'm like, okay, I love my family, but maybe I need to spend a little bit more time independently or with other people. I think it's just hard though, because I spent so much time not at home as an adult. Like this is really my first time back here in a long time. So I'm sort of like falling into this very comfortable place that is nice, but I'm also like, when you get too comfortable, that's not a good thing either. But yeah, no, dating is rough.
It definitely can be. I don't know. I just like I feel like I actually thought about this on my direct work yesterday. I was like, okay, the only two guys that I've only had a like romantic relationship with two guys really in the last 3 years. And you know of them, but like outside of that, like, yes, I've been on dates with other guys, and yes, I've like maybe like kind of crushed on some other guys here and there, but it like was very like, just temporary. But like the other two, it's like, it's not, I don't know, like I used to pine over guys for a very long time, but like, it's not necessarily like that feeling. It's like, okay, like again, it kind of goes back to like, okay, well, maybe I just keep like I'm still around because there's still these lessons that I want to learn. And maybe they're the guys that are supposed to be doing that for me. And so they're like still in my life to a certain capacity on a friendship level, right, as of now. But it's like, I don't know, like I haven't been able to like break out of that, but I also don't know, like, I don't know. It's just been like weird. Like, I'm like, Kelly, like when did you like waste these last 3 years of your life? Like, what is going on? Like,
definitely not. I mean, that's a little bit how I feel, but it was hard because we were in a pandemic and there was like so much stuff happening. And like you said, that this might be your year for career. Like that's sort of how I felt about 2022 for me. Is it was like a little bit of a solitary year for me, where I was like, I didn't put myself out much. I didn't really have like, it's weird because I've always been like, I'm always dating somebody, or like, it's never really been an issue. But I really just like, I wasn't dating anyone. I didn't really care to date anyone. I just was taking like a huge pause. Yeah. And I just kept thinking the same thing. I was like, maybe this is the year for me to work on myself and to work on my business, not work on myself in the same regard that I had been working on. That's the other thing that I think is interesting. Like there's so many ways that we can work on ourselves. And I had worked so hard for so long in like, I mean, I remember I had a therapist for a while, and he would do 60 minutes or 60 minutes or 120 minutes, I think were his session times. And when I first started going to him, I saw him twice a week for 120 minutes. And I cried the whole sessions. For the first 6 sessions, I cried every single session, start to finish. Now, like this last year, it was working on myself in like a different capacity. I was like working on my business, working on, just like who I am as a person in terms of like business person, what I want as a wife, a mother, do I want these things? Like, I was just working on myself in a different way. I don't even know, but I was just building up different parts of myself. So that was kind of interesting. It didn't feel like I really loved it. I think back on 2022, and I know it was not a great year for a lot of people. And I think the best thing of 2022 was that for me, it was the first year in a while that I had no extreme highs and no extreme lows. It was just pretty even. And I needed a year like that so badly.
I'm like, that was the opposite. I feel like I was in very low lows and very high highs. Like, it's so, I mean, and granted, again, I know that it was my own like mindset and my own stories that, I had created for myself, but it's like, I know that I struggled financially too last year, but it was like, oh, I landed a magazine cover. Oh, I'm fucking broke. Oh, I have a speaking gig. Oh, I'm broke. Oh, I have this. Oh, I'm broke. Like, I kind of get broke. Or, oh, I landed a magazine cover, but I don't have a boyfriend. Oh, I did this, but I still no one wants to be with me. Like, it was just like 2 extremes. And I'm like, I really am glad that I decided to, take this career opportunity, because I already feel lighter. I already feel like
you seem it for sure. The last time I saw you in person, you were like, I'm starting a job. You hadn't started it yet though.
No, yeah, that's right. yeah, that's right. I think I just got the acceptance letter like the week before, but yeah, I just feel so much better. And granted, I mean, I talked about this a long time ago, but I mean, like, financial depression is a thing. Like, you get like, that's like, I get financially depressed. I've been here a couple of times in my life, and I'm swearing to God, I will never be back there again. Like,
it affects every aspect of your life in like such a big way, especially as a well, I guess female, male, whatever, I guess it affects everyone. But I was going to say, in terms of like dating, there's like this part of you that feels like you don't bring anything to the table. Yeah, so I guess it would totally be both sides, because if a man was feeling that way, then he would probably be like, I can't pay for dinner, and there'd be like all these other stresses. But I mean, I felt like I wasn't, I needed to be like financially independent on my own and feel like comfortable on my own, because if I was dating somebody and not in that place, like then my gravitational pull, whether I wanted it to be the right thing or not, or like the conscious thing, is like, maybe I should date them because they can like help me get out of this, or like, you know, pay, like split rent with me. I don't know, like you're like, oh, they look a little shinier now because they might be able to make me feel less stressed about money, and that's like not at all why you should be with somebody.
Totally. And that really was like such an insecurity. Remember, you know, the guy that I met at that convention that we spoke at, like we had shared, we shared each other's like dream person. We both had like wrote out these like dream persons on our phone and our notes in our phone, and we like swapped, and we're both like reading them. And I'm like going through and I'm like, oh my God, he's like describing me. But then there was like this one thing, and it said on there, I want my like, you know, future partner to be like financially secure, like herself, like not meaning she has to be like the breadwinner or anything, but just like, I want her to be financially stable. And literally my gut got so tense and it contracted. And I was like, immediately just like felt very insecure. I felt like couldn't provide. I felt very embarrassed. And I was like, ooh, like I've done so much like money mindset work, but like the money management thing kind of went out the window. So we got to have both of those. But that was like the struggle, I think too, of last year. Like that was like my greatest insecurity. I'm like, wow, I can like, you know, yes, brands are sending me free things, which is amazing because it makes me look like I have freaking money, but I don't, y'all. I was broke as a joke. Broke as a joke most of last year. So it's just, but it really is like, I mean, now again, like I just feel this like new wave of confidence and security and stability. My nervous system is like repairing itself. It's regulating again. And I'm like, wow, I could go on a date, or I could go somewhere and be like, I got this. You know?
And it shows. And when you like feel confident in that area, then you like just exude confidence in other areas too. And it just makes you feel like, I don't need you. And that's the best thing, is to not need someone.
Yeah, that is.
Mm-hmm. I don't need you. I love that feeling when I'm like, I don't need you. Like I want to be with you. I really enjoy being with you. That's like what you want. At the end of the day, that's like my favorite thing lately when I think about it and I'm like, God, I really like that person. Like I really just enjoy spending time with them or whatever. But it's nothing about like, you know, it's not like what they bring to the table in a sort of like list. It's like, what do they bring to the table in terms of like, how do they make me feel when we're spending quality time together? And yeah, it's a nice stage of life to be, I think, walking into. I think it's good. I feel really like the most calm and yeah, I don't know what the word is, but just like I don't know. I remember I was at a girlfriend's the other day and she was like, she said something like, well, what do you think about your love life or something in 2023? I can't remember what she said, what the question was, but it was something around that. And my answer was, I was like, I'm not really worried about it. I'm like, I know love's going to come this year. Yeah. And she was like, you just said that so confidently. And I was like, yeah, but that's like, I know it in my gut. I'm like, yeah, whatever, it's going to come. I'm not worried about it at all. And that's like truly how I feel. And I think it's because so many other things are like finally starting to line up and come together. And I have done so much of the work. Like I always ask for a partner who has done a lot of work, and I would hope that they would want the same for me. So I feel like that's the other thing, is like leveling up in that sort of sense. Like you're calling in somebody who also has done work and they've also leveled up, which means they also may be like finding you later in life because they've had to go through shit to get them to that place, you know? And it sucks that we have to like go through these phases. And when you have done so much work on yourself, like somebody who hasn't been through stuff yet, it's gonna be hard sometimes, because you're like, you don't get what I've been through, what I've done, what a struggle it's been, whatever it was, you know?
For sure. And yeah, I mean, I think that was something too, just in the last 2 weeks, I think just like having this new job, like every area of my life now feels like it's quite fulfilled, like in a sense, you know, outside of the romantic relationship part. And that's something that I feel like I claimed this year too, was like, I'm going to meet someone, like I'm going to meet, and maybe it isn't like my forever person, but I'm going to meet someone that is going to change a lot for me this year. Like I'm going to date them maybe for 6 months or something, but like, you know, or it's my forever person. I don't know, but I know that like love is on my horizon too. Like it's time.
So, astrologically speaking, 2023 is supposed to be a very good year for love, for like the collective. So just
okay. Us, we can have joint weddings. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Oh my gosh. Okay. So yeah, I've loved having you on. This was beautiful. I know you and I can talk for like the next 24 hours, but we'll catch up on another time.
I was going to say, we're going to have to continue this. Sorry if you don't miss all the juicy gossip that we get.
Sorry, guys. No, but I just adore you. Are you working on anything? Well, you have a book. So she has a book, guys. It's AP Unwritten. And it is a poetry book and also interactive. You can color in, it's like a coloring book, which I use as therapy. Like I have literally, because you sent me.
You actually do it?
Yeah, you sent me a little care package with a little paintbrush and stuff and colored pencils. And I haven't used the paintbrush yet, but yeah, like every once in a while I'll go in and like, if I'm just like, I'm having a day.
Happy.
Yeah, I'm having a day and I'm like, okay, I need to color. And so I'll color in a book. So thank you.
That's so cute.
Yeah. But yeah, it's on is it on Amazon still?
It's on Amazon, yeah. It's linked in my bio on Instagram. So I guess, I mean, this year is I'm stepping into some new roles, I guess. I feel like the last couple of years I've jumped from thing to thing. Like we've talked about a lot. I think it's been hard to kind of pinpoint like what I want to do like for the rest of my life. But the thing is you don't have to figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life. You just got to figure out what makes you happy right now. And I've been doing so many things and I didn't even recognize it until somebody pointed it out to me. Well, I sort of pointed it out to myself, but they asked me a very direct question. They were like, what is your dream job? And I was sleepy and I just blurted something out. And then I had all the excuses in the world why I couldn't do that dream job. And every time I had an excuse, her response was like, no, you can totally do that. Like, it was just like, why? That's easy. You can do that. And so then I started thinking about it. I'm like, I absolutely can do that. You're right. And it was to host women's wellness travel retreats. And so, and again, like I know we've talked about this. So my goal in 2023 is to host 2. So this is sort of my announcement, I guess. This is like the one big Kelly Chase announcement that I'm making on your podcast, because I haven't announced it anywhere yet. But that's what's happening. So there'll be, hopefully in the fall, I have a meeting later this week to discuss some options. But I'm going to be doing a lot of traveling in the beginning of the year and then later in the year, but to do some location scouting. So I can really like make this just such an epic retreat. And I'm super excited about that. So, but everything I've been working on, like I did the Chopra coaching course. I became a meditation coach with my art, with my poetry, my own healing. There's just so many things. Being a woman in my 30s, like that's a part of it. These are all like lessons and things that I've learned a lot from. And I want to share all of that with other women who, you know, either need it, want it, would just enjoy being a part of it. So that is, that's happening.
I love it. Yay. I'm so excited. And once my like savings account gets a little fluffier, I'll come travel with you.
Yeah. Please do. I'm really excited. I'm like, fine. I got a new passport last year. It has no stamps in it. And this year I'm like, I think I already have like 4 international trips planned. So I'm very excited.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love that for you. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story about your father, most importantly, just being vulnerable with that. And thank you for just being awesome. You're a great friend and I love you.
I love you.
If you loved this episode, please download, share, rate, and review. If you are ready to step into that next level version of you and grow your business and bank account, it's time to unleash your goddess magic and chase life with Kelly. You can start this epic expansion journey by diving into the Goddess Magic course bundle found at chaselifetogether.com. Please connect with me on Instagram at Chase Life with Kelly. Join the Chase Life with Kelly Facebook community and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Till next time, create the life you crave, babe, and chase life with Kelly.